Direct from historic downtown Orange, California, it's time for the Bob Gurr Show. From undersea adventures to highways in the sky, he's done it all. And now, here's your host, the man, the myth, the Disney legend, Bob Gurr.
Mike, this is Bob and Mike on the Bob Gurr Show. Mike is the founder of Funko, and that's all the introduction I'm going to give him because I'm going to threaten him with something about the history of Funko. I did not know what in the world a Funko was until I got Funko boxes in the mail.
That's right.
With pens, with explicit instructions. What in the world is a Funko? I just kept the 20 bucks and sent it back. And then one day in Las Vegas, a couple of guys show up in a big vehicle full of Funko boxes, and they want to have the boxes opened up, sign the boxes, sign the product. They were there all day. We're in the pandemic. It's a 100-degree day, and we're doing it in our garage. And Arrow was just there. Look at my garage. Look at this. That's only part of it. Guys running a collectible company in Las Vegas in my garage on a 100-degree day in the middle of the pandemic because of a thing called Funkos.
Yeah.
I had to start finding out what in the world is a Funko. And they're all sizes and everything and color, and some are Disney and some are not. But I take the money and I sign them. So after a while, I begin to figure out, because I got more boxes in the mail. And then one day you come talk to me. And then I started looking up Funko on the internet.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to see a few little pictures here. You don't have to look at any of those pictures. But I like to ask questions about who people are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody pretty much knows who you are and what you do and all the stuff that you do all the time. You're very, very public. Sometimes you're a circus barker.
Yeah.
Other times you're quiet. You have your own TV show,
Right.
so to speak. But basically, you have a lot of interests, but they're kind of in a little narrow area. Anything that is a pop culture toy, it's always a known character, not a made-up thing generally.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is always on the fun side of activities. There's activities you have to do, but you are always on the fun side. That's what I like to do anyway. You have to endure business realities. Everybody hates them. I think you hate business realities as bad as I hate them.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Yes.
have the same mind. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, all right. You like to engage directly with Funko fans. I did not realize that until I saw you at a show, and you were out there. You're like the head circus barker. You're just getting everybody to clap and yell, and you're throwing toys in every which direction.
Yeah.
And I thought you were real quiet. That was a surprise. It seems like you love thinking up new ideas. Anything is new. Could we try this? Could we try that? It's like when I design stuff. Oh, I'd like to do something nobody ever did. I'd like to try it out. And it's always going to be an expansion that goes in the direction of fun only. That's what I see you doing. And I think you sincerely enjoy meeting people at public events. I mean, that's got to wear people out an awful lot.
Yeah.
But you seem to do that okay. Maybe I don't see you the day after, but is that what it feels like when you're?
No, well, I feel like it's an honor, because I have some stories of celebrities I had met early on as a kid, one very positive and one not so positive. And I always thought to myself how this one person that had changed how I felt about him and about their company. And so I just figured that you have this very unique opportunity to make a difference, if nothing else, to lift people's spirits and have a, take a little bit of time to show some interest in that person that's taken a little time for you.
And you really like doing that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Because it's a little bit parallel to what I do. I started out as a mechanical draftsman, then I designed a bunch of things like monorails and stuff, and then over time, people come along 50 years later and they thank you for that because they had a good day because I did something. But there's something that is like right here when somebody walks up, with a family and they got grandchildren, and they want to tell you about a good day they had like a half a century before. You get a feeling like that with people?
Yeah, for me, I kind of don't. I always have my slogan that ABC, always be creating. So I don't care if it's an event, if it's a show, if it's a product, if it's an appearance. I really just try to create, but I try to create fun, and the best way I know how. And I don't care if I'm wearing a wacky mustache or if I'm, dressed up in some crazy outfit. If that makes people smile, it makes them happy, I'm all for it. So I really, again, it really doesn't matter what it is as long as it's fun. And like you said, it comes from the heart and it's authentic, because I always say, the product is secondary to the feeling behind the product, the love you put in the product, and the team you've put together that surrounds you. And you guys work as a common goal to bring that experience, that activation to people that they'll never forget. And what you said about the monorail really resonates with me, because I've had a lot of people come up and say some of their best friendships, some of their best moments have been through some of these experiences and products and things with Funko. And I mean, what a bigger honor than that. I mean, that's crazy. So I try to tell a lot of the people that work with me in my teams, I say, what we do is important. And they kind of like, what? I said, what we do is very important work here. What we do creates friendships and love and bonds families and friends for a lifetime. And it kind of takes everybody a little bit back to realize, so every time, every line you draw, every sculpt you do, realize this is somebody's favorite t-shirt or favorite toy or favorite experience. What's it like for that family that spent money for airfare, hotel, then to get tickets into the show, let's say at a Comic-Con or WonderCon, and then be lucky enough to even get into the Funko booth. So, boy, make sure you give them that experience that they want, because, I mean, you can change their entire outlook on it.
Funny thing is, people are used to big things like theme parks, great big movie, great big events. But you're saying connection can come from a little tiny thing like that,
right?
And you build all this friendship and joy and companionship about not a giant park, a little thing like that.
Again, I think I really do believe that people can feel the, like I said, the love and the fun that is put inside of this stuff. And I always say that it's not the product, it's the feeling behind it, and the passion that Funko has. I think our Funko fanatics are so unique. I just had the pleasure of going to the Funko Day Out, FDO, yesterday. Mm-hmm. It was an amazing experience, because you get to, again, they were having a bowling party, and they were having these Funko Day Out all around the world. Mm-hmm. And just to see the passion, and what's great, the community, it's constantly sharing, and it's constantly doing things. I think they raised yesterday something like $4,000 or $5,000 for a charity while they're still having their fun. So it's the most loving, caring, and diverse community, and that's not contrived. It just happened. It just happened again through. I get almost choked up about it, because it's just such a loving community. It mystifies me. I'm so happy just to even be a part of it now.
Well, here's my curiosity. What you've described is an aura, that somehow your path through life created this in a way, again, with something, a very tiny thing instead of a giant thing. I'd like to run your life backwards.
Yeah.
and take some of these paths that has given you this experience, and let's try to run them back. And I'm talking about 3 years to 5 years old. The things I really look at is how people develop their continuity of life interests and how that started. And also that leads to what experiences triggered you to action. But you have to have the thought and then execute the action. So I want you to go back and think of, I'll show it this way. I do a lot of events where a family will come up and they'll have a child with them. And they says, oh, my child wants to be an Imagineer.
Yeah.
I get this by the hundreds.
Right.
And they say, what can you tell my child about what they need to have to be able to be an engineer? And then after a couple of words, I'll suddenly look at the child and I'll go, hey, when you were 5 years old, what really turned you on? And there's only two types of answers. Well, first answer will be they'll look at their parents and say, what did he say? And the other one is this kid will open up about any kind of a subject. Oh man, now let me tell you what I did when I was 5 years old. And then I look at the mother and the mother says, oh, let me tell you all about that. I got a live wire. There are some kids that they're an automatic live wire. By the time they're 10, 15, 20, they do remember those first sparks. And those first sparks are usually pretty good around 5. Sometimes they back up a little bit to 3. So see if you can remember, these are not complete subjects. There's just a little spark or a remembrance of that, or being someplace, or you saw something. They're little sparks, but those are where the seeds pop in and make this path.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, I vividly remember my parents were always like Lincoln Logs, Tinker Toys, Legos, Erector sets. A lot of, I got a lot of good positive feedback by building I build little cars and planes and things and play with them, and I'd crash them and then rebuild them. Things like having a Kool-Aid stand, I always thought it was fun to try to earn your own money, like have a Kool-Aid stand. Or I used to go out and put this electrical rod in the ground and get worms, and I'd sell these worms because we lived by a river, and to sell them to the people going out fishing. And I did a lot of weird little businesses, maybe not when I was 5, but I was just I was really in model kits. I love model kits. My dad and I would build model kits together. So I always liked kind of that creating of stuff.
Well, when you build a kit, you got a plan. You're going to build the object that's usually shown at. But go back, you just said Tinker Toy.
Yeah.
Tinker Toy, there's only a couple of hubs and a couple of sticks.
Yeah.
Did you find out that you could make any shape that you would like that didn't fit any kind of a plan?
Well, that's what I liked about the old, things like Tinker Toys and Legos, because you just decided what you want to make. It wasn't part of a kit that you had, this piece went exactly here. It was kind of up to your imagination. And so, yeah, Tinker Toys, where you could make planes and cars with them. And
yeah, see, the observation here is, I always like to ask the question, the first experiences that would establish your general MO, your general method of operation. We know you're fun now,
yeah.
But going all the way back, you created your own fun for your own entertainment using something as simple as a Tinker Toy.
Yeah, I like to imagine all these races. I'll tell you something that's really funny that I'm talking to you now. One day, I always dreamed of going to Disneyland, but I was born in Eastern Washington, Richland, Washington, which seemed like, Disneyland was like another planet, right? But my mom said, oh no, California, they have earthquakes. We'll never go to California. But they gave me instead a Viewmaster. You remember what a Viewmaster were?
Yeah.
And those slides were Disney slides.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And so I would go in the closet by myself, and I'd look at these Viewmasters and pretend I was going to Disneyland. And I would go through each slide and make up a story as I looked at it, like what it would be like. They would show the submarine or the Matterhorn, and they'd show that guy climbing on the Matterhorn, and I mean, all of the rides. It was magical to me, and I knew I'd never be able to go there, but I could kind of go there with the Viewmaster.
Yeah, you could take any kind of a simple thing and you could create a world of experience that you may never have, but you create it in your mind anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still doing that.
Yeah.
I love it. That's perfect. Do you remember any other things along those lines, or maybe something that's different that might have got your attention at the time, although it was not quite so central to these toys, Legos, and starting to do stuff to entertain yourself? Like music, anything like that?
Yeah, well, I got into music. Well, I remember, first of all, like I always had, like I said, I'd have a paper route, or I would be a dishwasher, or I would do lawn mowings and stuff. And I remember I started trying to learn about trying to do a good job. Like, that was a big deal that my grandpa used to teach me about, like trying to do a good job. Like I remember one time this one customer in particular, I would mow their lawn and I would trim it and I'd do everything really good. And I called them on the phone a week later and said, hey, I pretended to be someone else, and I said, hey, I'm looking to mow lawns, and I would get to mow their front and back lawn. This is back, I don't know when, probably maybe early 70s. And for the whole thing you get $4 plus the trimming. And I said, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, I want to mow lawns, I charge $2.50. And they said, no, I'm happy with the guy we got. But I was the guy.
You sneaky little brat.
But I just wanted to see if they were happy with the job.
Oh.
And so I used to try to do those things to see because it was important to me that they were happy with it.
Ah.
So I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No, it makes complete sense, because let's put those two together. You like to create stuff, which takes more effort. You could open a box and follow the directions and just build the little apparatus or the toy by the picture. No, you wanted to go do that your own way. But what you just told me about the paper route and the lawn business was you have a business sense of thoroughness in doing something. Put those two together.
yeah.
These are the lines of success that I'm looking for, because you could just be a toy, make toys and dream all day and do nothing.
Yeah.
But I know what it's like to have a paper route. I had a paper route only because I had to, because I wanted a bicycle, and I was told, get a paper route, then you get a bicycle. So they wound up happening basically together. It was World War II. I wind up with 4 paper routes.
Wow.
I didn't cut lawns. I didn't want to do lawns, but I raised goats
Wow.
and sold goat's milk. So these are the kind of things that will teach you all about business with you not knowing
Yep.
that you're in business, but you were, in a business sense, in a creative business sense, very early.
Yeah, I guess so. And then when I did get in music, and I would be the band's manager as well as, playing in the band. Like, I would have to go collect the money and have to pay for all the stuff and pay everybody off that was the light man and the sound man and the manager and all that, so I learned a lot about, everything from shady club owners to, how that works with commissions, how from agents taking commissions and all that kind of stuff. So I learned a lot of that. That was better than going to college for me.
Now see what you just said. You actually took a business sense that you learned very early on. You combined that with the Viewmaster, the Lego toys, and the Tinker Toy, which is the art and creative side. You automatically stored the business management in to handle that art in a correct manner.
Yeah, I never really thought about that.
Well, you just did. Okay, see, that's what I want to find out. That's what I'm trying to find out. I had one question, or one was the first sign I wanted to create small, nostalgic toys. Um, why don't you tell me about that? Because I think somehow that began to follow this line that you had already developed.
So when I did decide, it really, I think you probably can attest to this too. A lot of things in life are about making the decision rather than thinking about it.
Yeah.
Once you make that decision and you've put yourself into a position where I think it's great to put yourself in sink or swim positions, because you have to kind of get to see what you're made of. But making the decision was a big deal. And then like with this, I was living in Redmond, Washington at the time. And if anybody knows anything about Redmond, Washington, it was the high-tech capital of the world, it seemed like, because Nintendo was there and Microsoft was there. And all anybody could talk about was, in the 80s and late 80s and 90s was computers and tech. And I heard always, you see what the crowd is doing and you do the exact opposite. So I thought, what's the most low-tech thing I can do while and still with something that I was interested in, which was kind of collectibles. Well, they didn't even know, I didn't even think we called them collectibles. Junking, going to garage sales, going to Goodwills, going to swap meets, things like that, right? And so I thought, well, you know what? I always kind of like these things, but they're made out of paper mache, and they're always all chipped up and busted and broken. Why don't I make them out of a material that's not going to happen? But let's think low tech. Let's go the opposite. Nothing high tech.
Well, that's very curious that you pointed that out, because a lot of people, whatever line of interest they've got, they would try to follow somebody that they already see as famous and successful at what they're doing. And you just told me you look at the situation and say, I'll do it different. I'll do it opposite. That had to be a frightening thing, to say I could be successful by being anti-successful, by doing something that nobody's doing.
Yeah, I guess that's that go with your gut. And it was really scary. I mean, as you probably know, there were many times where I was like, what in the world was I thinking? Like, why in the world would I want to get involved with this? This is pure agony.
Well, this is why I'm asking these questions, because somehow you came to a spot where you started making, conscious decisions to do something that involved the art and the business, and poking your nose into the world of business and money and selling and doing something that you would like, but finding out maybe somebody else would like it like you like it.
I think when you hear that saying, you do what you always do, you get what you always got, and something like that. Maybe I got it right. But I remember thinking, I'd been at this one job, an apparel job, for 10 years. And I had a commute 1 hour each way, and it gave me a lot of time to think. And that's when I just kept thinking, I could just keep doing this forever, or I could really finally right now try. In fact, not even try, just do it. Just do something I really want to do. And if I can make a third or even half of what I'm making now, I can get by. But I'd be doing something I love. And so that was that tipping point finally to make that decision.
Okay, well that how long did it take for you to make something that's yours, that's kind of visible, and you saw reaction of other people the minute they had it in their hands?
It took a while, a little bit. I mean, it seemed like it took forever to me, right? Because you think the day these things come off the container that, it's going to be an overnight thing. But I was surprised. I had a lot of good fortune. A lot of people. I found one thing early on. If you're honest about being the underdog, people will go out of their way to help you.
Okay.
Like I started realizing early on, I went to that store at Universal City Walk, Sparky's, and I said, you know what? I walk by your store and I've always dreamed of having my product in your store. I just told the truth. I just said, that's my ultimate dream, that my product can be in your store. Can you help me? And it was he said, well, he said, these are really nice and I like it. He goes, but unfortunately, I don't think my customer's not going to like it. So I said, you know what I did? I brought a case of these for you. I pulled up a case of 48. I'm going to give them to you as my gift. And if they don't sell, it's okay. You know, we gave it a shot. But if they do, why don't you pay me for them? And then let's talk then about reordering. And I couldn't believe it. I think that was on a Thursday. And he called me that Monday when he got back in. He said, they're all gone.
Well, this must have been, I mean, that's a heck of a change point to say you have something that you got your heart in,
Yeah.
and you want somebody in the business of that kind of a product, and look at his expertise and his experience to give you some guidance, and he sort of is kind of ambivalent. Then you take the leap of saying, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
And see what happens. This is how magic change points happen, because this is the thing that it's like you start to point out. You could analyze this here all you want, but right here you say, let's go. That's got to be a scary thing to do something when you know it's got financial implications.
Totally. Well, there's a couple of stories that are almost too hard to tell that first year of some of the stuff with, you know, financially that almost, you know, ruined me, literally. Mm-hmm. But I think, you know, this is back in the day when you'd have to call on the phone and go, you know, Bob's Cards and Gifts in Cincinnati, and you call up and go, hi, I guess is Bob there? And, you know, and they would say, yeah, this is him. And I go, would you like to buy some wacky wobbler bobbleheads? And they go, what are those? And I go, oh, they're really neat. Trust me, you're going to want these. And they go, no, that's okay. I go, well, would you mind if I sent you one? And I would say maybe 8 times out of 10, I would send one of these or one of the other characters, and I would get a call back probably within that week, and they'd say, yeah, we'll give these a try. And then I would follow up and say, how are they doing? And in some cases they go, you know what, we're looking for them, I guess they're gone. And so they go, let's go ahead and place a reorder. So that's how I had to build the whole business, you know, like just like calling and almost every, so I used to give these away to anybody, the UPS man, anybody that showed an interest in one. Like if anybody goes, oh, you know, like the Betty Boop, my mom loves Betty Boop, here, give one to her. And it's weird how that kind of love or goodwill just spread, and before you know it, the phone just started ringing. And then now the Jane's, you know, collectibles in Minneapolis would call and go, we want to place an order. And I go, let's do it. And
this is the darndest thing. A lot of organizations get into place and they start to doing a product, and they officially go out and do this thing about marketing and finance and all this stuff. You actually had the guts to just pick up a phone and offer your idea, and it was something that was, you liked it, and this was like exploring, does somebody else like the same things that I like? But I can see now, if it's small, simple, adorable, number one, and looking at some of these things that you've done, most people would like something that's adorable. And it's, I mean, how can you turn down a cute puppy?
yeah,
This kind of feeling. It's almost like the selling of it is the placement of it first, so it could just be looked and seen, and people will react to it. That's a strange but normal and honest way to market. You were just doing it automatic because that's the way you do stuff.
Well, I had 2 philosophies. One was I just thought, you know what, somewhere out there, there's other people that feel like I do about, let's say, these characters, whether it's Felix the Cat or Betty Boop or Big Boy or, you know, Reddy Kilowatt, weird characters that a lot of times that, you know, time had forgotten. Count Chocula, you know, some of these cereal characters, because I grew up eating a lot of cereal, by the way, when I was 5 and 6, a lot. And I got the cavities to prove it. But I kept thinking, I know how passionate I am about it and how much I would want one of these for $10, right? That there's got to be 1,000 people in the United States that would want one of these too. And I kept thinking to myself, that's what I'm going to bet on. That if I, and, you know, like I've said before, that turned out there was thousands and thousands of people that felt that way. And that was the thing that really was the tipping point. That, and also going back to that same store, the first store I told you where I gave them the 48 pieces. And they had a mascot there that had only been a one-dimensional face only. That was Sparky's at Universal City Walk. And I said, what if we design your mascot for you? You know, a 3D turnaround version of the body, and he's a little kid with a slingshot behind his back. And they go, that sounds great. I go, what if we made one of these wacky wobblers of your mascot? And they go, that sounds even better. I said, what if I gave them to you for cost? He goes, well, that's really good. I said, here's all I want. You promise me for 1 year, because this guy was known for making these incredible window displays. Dave Brisbaugh from Sparky's. I said, just promise me for 1 year, if I give you your character for cost, and that all my you make these amazing window displays, right? With Funko product in it, Funko Wacky Wallbers. He goes, yeah, let's do it. And so that was great, because I kept thinking, if I went by that store, and I don't even live in California, a lot of people from a lot of places around the country must go by that store. And so then the phone really started ringing. Because people would think, well, if it's in this store here in California at Universal Studios, doggone it, this must be popular.
And it must be everywhere.
Yeah, so I got to have it.
They buy it right now.
I got to have it for my store. So so then the buyers from little card and gift shops started calling.
Tell me how you, well, maybe you just automatically do stuff without trying to analyze how you do stuff. But this is like having something that is automatic in the instant someone sees it. You accidentally stumbled onto an idea, you know, for a product, a toy, an object, that if Sparky's going to put it in the store like that, there's got to be something about how humans behave when they see or experience something where it has almost a zero instant response to buying it. They just walk in, oh, I want one of those.
Yeah, I think, again, it's a lot of times with the characters, it evokes the feeling, and that feeling usually is a childhood feeling. For instance, with the serial characters or a big boy. I think people always tend to think of they try to pick the best moments out of their childhood. Not everybody had these perfect, happy childhoods, but they probably had some happy moments and memories, whether that was Saturday morning cartoons, maybe that was fun characters, breakfast cereals, maybe some of these advertising figures or whatever. And I think people, I don't think people take these out of the box and play with them, doing, like, boy, I'm having a blast with these bobbleheads. I think it's just the feeling they get. It kind of reminds them of an innocent, childlike time in their life.
Yeah. That seems to me, the more I was signing these boxes and signing the products, and what I came away with, I never saw so many cute things in my garage before. So I was sort of in a spot of almost being like maybe a store manager, and this stuff was brought in to autograph it. Why in the world am I being to autograph somebody else's product? This was completely crazy.
No, I don't think it's that crazy. I mean, I've had you autograph some of my stuff because I think people now they really want that rich history, the rides and some of the attractions you've worked on. People would love to have that signature because it brings them closer to.
Well, there's one right there, and there's one over there. We got Mickey here, and we got Donald there. And when I saw these that your company was making, I thought, oh my God! I just designed these just for the ride, but I never foresaw that it'd come back as a cute little toy with one of Disney's most valuable characters sitting in my car, and both of them are the same. So again, you speak of this nostalgia of a good time. As I look at each one of these every day, I remember the the things that turn me on about the design, how I'm going to do this vehicle, how it's going to be really comfortable in that one, how this has got to be the same kind of seating package, but it's got to look like it's a rocket in one end. It's got to look like the Gemini spacecraft in another part. So just looking at these, my mind just runs a story in an instant that's connected with those two shapes, even though it's Walt's creations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to think. I mean, it's pretty cool that you're sitting here and you worked on those, and now they're...
Yeah, this is why I wanted to know the origins of how this stuff got started. I really appreciate you share these ideas with me, because now I have a better picture of how seeds of an idea get going, and then it gradually gets fleshed out, everything I added to it, and then it winds up that you could walk up to a Sparky's and say, here, I'll give them to you, watch and see what happens.
Yeah.
And the what happens gave you the thrust of now you know really where you could go with it. And look how far you've gone with stuff. Okay, now looking at what I'd say your characteristics of today, this is my doctor psychology observations here. I think you're desperately trying to stay calm. We've got a crazy, crazy world here, the toy world, everything that Funko does with people. You've engaged with so many people, which is hard to stand up there like a circus barker with a bunch of screaming people and stay calm in the middle of all that. You're making sure that everything you do, the value of fun is the most important part. Everything has got to radiate out of that little 3-letter word.
Yeah.
Do you still maintain that exactly that way?
I have to, yeah. I mean, because to me, that's all I got left to hang on to, you know, because, it seems like, with the world and the way things are moving so fast, I think, God, if there's one thing that we can try to do is try to hang on to that fun, you know, whatever that word means to people, whether it means escape or friendships or
connection.
Connection.
It's connection to something that was good in their life before, you know, today's times came along. So I'm guessing you were a creative little kid with the Tinker Toys, and today you're probably always trying to think up new ideas to try out. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that path has never changed. That just that was the mic seed, and it moves and it just keeps right on zipping right along.
Yeah, I mean, some of them probably aren't good ideas, but I do. I mean, I think of that. I wish I could quiet, you know, my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
See, that was the first thing I observed there with comment. Yeah. Well, maybe you work on that someday. How about, let me just ask you a question. What really turns you on today about things?
I think I don't know. I think the future, like that keeps me going today is what could be in the future.
What do you think some of those could be's might be?
I think it could, you know, about making things better, making things plussing.
Plussing.
I always use that word because that's a Disney word.
I was going to say, yeah, you picked that right up out of Walt's mouth right there.
Because I do think, like, whether again it's a package, it's the product itself, the packaging for the product, the event, the show, no matter what it is, you can always plus that up. And I was always impressed with that term because I always thought you never can sit on your laurels. You know, if, you know, next time around, if we made this item, we could look at this and think like, you know, we could make this better. You know, why don't we add another character to it? Why don't we use metallic ink, you know, or metallic paint to make it look like maybe the wheels look even more realistic, or maybe the package could, you know, there's always ways to make things better, like with a show, or how can we engage the fans even more and more to where they come out of there feeling more excited than they were the year before. You know, I guess that's all that keeps me going is how can we make it even more more fun.
Well, you know, that's what Walt did all the time, because going back over a lot of the times where he'd be walking around the different rooms talking to us, and the model shop and out in even a machine shop, he would always look at something that it is what it is now, and it's on its way to something better, and we'd wind up with, he always had a conversation, say, that's getting pretty good, but what if? And there was always the what if. You were in the what if for the future right now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mike, that's the best words I could have heard all evening here. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming
sir.
down to our
quite
crazy
an
little
honor.
studio here. And by the way, Mike, several weeks ago, we went out to Bob's Big Boy restaurant.
Yep.
And he had a little basket of little gifts to give out, and he looked at me, and because I told him I used to hang out at Bob's Big Boy from the day it was born, and also my father bought his sesame buns from the same baker as Bob Wyan in 1938 in Glendale, and it had a serial number on it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is how it all started, and this is, you know, like one of several thousand or whatever it is here. This is so precious. This had to come down here and watch us talk about it.
Well,
Look at that, the big one.
I'll tell you a story about this. Notice it doesn't say Wacky Wobbler. So this was the first
The
1,000.
bobbing head.
Yeah, and they almost rejected the whole order because I misspelled, this is before spell check, the word character is misspelled on the back. And they almost said, I said, no one will know, you know. And if they would have rejected that order, I would have been finished.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you,
This
sir.
has been a grand time. I'd love to talk to you again sometime.